as always, and as you can tell, at Liam Morgan, Liam Morgan? No, at Liam Merrill. See, she should be here. Like, I'm not. They shouldn't leave me in charge of this. I've already messed up, and we're not even a minute in. At Liam Merrill is on vacation, something I haven't done since 2013. So it's just Craig and I today, holding down shop, and it's a really big day today for the Arizona Coyotes.
It is indeed.
Yeah, Liam O'Brien hopes to take over the Drip lead. Not the big news. Not the big news. The Coyotes have signed Matt Dumba. We've talked about
now, and you teased it in the Discord a while back, and it's finally come to fruition. Craig, tell us about the new contract.
Well, it's 1 year. It's $3.9 million, which is a really good deal. I'll have some comparables in a story that I put up eventually when I get all the details on this signing. But I honestly, I thought Matt Dumba was going to make more money than that, especially if he signed a 1 year deal. I thought he was going to cash in a little more than he did. This is yet another good deal for Bill Armstrong, for David Ludwig, for the people that put all this together. The other side of this too, Petey, just like Jason Zucker and to a lesser extent, but still Alex, but short term. There's not a lot of term on these deals. So what it does is it gives you flexibility if any prospects step up and are ready to step into the lineup. You have the opportunity maybe to re-sign these guys. We saw Bukestad come back and Stetcher come back. But it doesn't block anyone's path. It doesn't block the path. It doesn't affect the rebuild in any way. There's this bridge, right? There's this couple-year bridge that you need to span before you get to where you're emerging from the rebuild. So getting these guys on short-term deals really helps.
Yeah, but this is when you talk about Matt Dumba too, and you thought the market was really big for Matt Dumba coming into the season. So you've heard his rumored with Pittsburgh, and we saw what happened there with Carlson. You heard his name rumored in Dallas, and there were a handful of other teams in on the Matt Dumba conversations. Why Arizona?
That I really want to find out still. We haven't had the chance to talk to him. We're going to talk to him actually right after this. And, Petey, we're going to have him on a show tomorrow morning.
What?
As well. Matt Dumba will be on the PHNX Coyotes show. And Liam O'Brien will be on Wednesday, by the way.
Good
so you can
God.
ask about,
Really?
What's your favorite term?
Drip.
Yeah, that is it.
Liam O'Brien's drip. Oh, I wonder how Matt Dumba's drip is.
Well, we can ask. You'll have the opportunity to
what's
ask.
His
I probably
nickname?
won't.
Can we give him a nickname? I got one.
Go ahead.
For Dumba?
Go ahead.
Because I'm sure it unfortunately goes to Dumbo and Disney. I'm calling him the doctor because it's his initials are MD. So
There it is.
we're calling him the doctor.
There it is, PDS.
I like it, the doctor.
We'll see if it sticks.
Carving
We'll see
you
if
up.
it sticks.
I like it.
But I do, I want to know, like, we knew
Yes.
that this was tied to Carlson, right?
For sure. But again, do you think this was the max contract he could get? $3.9 million for 1 year?
I really thought he was going to get more
So
than
did
this.
I.
And I don't know what happened with those other options because we heard some teams were trying to clear the cap space for him. Maybe other teams just fell out of it because they just couldn't make the moves. Maybe
Yeah.
Pittsburgh was his last ditch to see if he could go play with Sid and
Yes.
Evgeny Malkin, who wouldn't want to do that, Chris Letang. And then they go out and get Erik Karlsson, and you saw how quickly things happened after the Karlsson trade was announced. That Dumba happened really fast.
The one thing I want to say about Matt Dumba, and in the Minnesota Wild organization, he was their number 3 defenseman. They got Jonas Brodin, who's a very good, if not one of the top defending defensemen in the league. He's unsung. He goes under the radar. The kid can defend. And Jared Spurgeon, who plays both ends of the ice. He's a leader, offensive, defensive, does it all. Great
Two
stick.
terrific D-men.
So those are 2 really, really good defensemen for the Minnesota Wild. Matt Dumba was their 3rd best. He would still be a Minnesota Wild, if not for Zach Parise and the Suter contract that they tied those long-term, horrific deals years and years ago. And we talk about these long-term contracts. Well, this is the other side. We talked about Tom Wilson in Washington. This is the other side of that. The Minnesota Wild right now could have Kevin Fiala and Matt Dumba on their lineup making a run at the Stanley Cup, but they signed 2 players nearly a decade ago that they don't want anymore. So be careful what you wish for. But that's why Matt Dumba is no longer Wild. They would love to have him in the roster. They just can't afford him. He can't fit. So the Coyotes getting him for 1 year at $3.9 million is a fantastic deal for the Coyotes.
We'll get into. We're going to have a little PD's Puck Talk later on the show.
We hope so.
We'll get into that a little later, specifically what you think he can bring, what you saw in his game. We're also going to hear from Joe Smith from The Athletic, who moved from Tampa, where he got to cover Cup winners, to Minnesota last year to work alongside the great Mike Rousseau covering the Minnesota Wild. Last season was his first season back up there, but Joe Smith is going to join us in the second segment of this story. The other thing that I want to talk to you about before we get to Joe, before we get to your spectacular ad reads too, is what this means for the blue line in general, how it all shakes out, what the pairings look like. Yeah. We had talked earlier about maybe Matt Dumba being a second pair guy, running the second power play, Sean Durzi getting that spot at the top. We're not there anymore.
No, and I don't think so. And that's what we kept saying. This was the weakness of their team. And I want to give a shout out to Real Deal Prime. As a Buffalo Sabres fan, that's another team that was in the Dumba sweepstakes early. And I think that's a team that's closer to win than the Coyotes. So that one kind of surprised me as well. And that's when you think of the other factors that create an opportunity for a free agent. It's weather's pretty damn nice here. Sorry, Buffalo. Sorry, Real Deal. By the way, Real Deal Prime's emoji there. I thought, I love you, Dad. I thought it was number one, Dad. Literally, he missed the voting because I won that. I've got the mug to prove it. Just saying. So let's put up the D pairs as we see them.
I think your mug is fake, by the way, because I got a keychain that says
you're the number one, Dad?
Yeah, I am.
I thought for sure it was me. So this is the way too early prediction of what we see at the back end. I think now with Dumba is that the kid can defend. I'm telling you, he can defend. He's aggressive. He skates well enough that he can defend the rush. He skates well enough that he can defend aggressively in the defensive zone. And paired with Mosier, one of the things when we get to the puck talk, he does take chances in the offensive zone. He does come in off of the blue line. He does step up in the neutral zone. So you better have somebody that can skate and defend. And right now, I think J.J. Mosier might be the best overall defending defenseman on this team. And again, you're going to hear it here first. J.J. Mosier is a superstar. Not yet. Not now. This kid is going to be, I'm telling you, you wait 3 or 4 years right now, he is the number one defenseman on this team. Ooh, that's how big I feel that. So now you put Durzi on the second pair. You can only give him offensive zone starts. You can keep him away from the other team's top players, pair him with Valimaki. I don't know. The one thing I'm concerned with Durzi is can he defend? And that's where you look at the third pair where I have Stetcher and Brown as the third pair. That pair can play anywhere on the ice. They can defend. We saw Brown come in off the blue line, create offense. Stetcher can throw pucks at the net. This is their safe pair that can play in any situation, up or down. They're safe. And if you just gave up a goal, you can throw Stetcher and Brown out on the next shift just to kind of calm things down. So I think Stetcher and Brown are going to get their ice time. When this team is ahead, Durzi's ice time is going to change. I'm sorry right now.
That's fair.
He's just going to have to learn to defend better. The problem is now you look at Dermott, Soderstrom, and Kolyachonok. Who's your extra guy? You're going to look at two-way contracts because this team is going to have to look at who's going to cost them. Right now, I think it's Dermott's spot. And I don't know.
Well, the other side of that, too, is he's a veteran who can sit on certain nights. You don't want a guy who's still developing to be out of the lineup a lot. There's not a lot of value. The coaches will talk about some value in watching, seeing what happens. I think we're past that point with Victor Soderstrom where he can gain anything more from sitting in the stands. He's done that a fair amount. So I think it makes more sense to have a veteran in that situation. I do wonder if when there, and I'm certain there will be a little bit of shifting here. We also know, and I'm not saying it's going to happen because his forward lines look a lot better than they did last season, but we also know that Andre Tourigny likes to play 7 defensemen at times. So
yes, and that could change this too because you look at Soderstrom is the guy that this is it for him. He has to perform this year. The waiting is finally over. Either he's going to have to join this lineup full time or it's time for him to move on to another organization. I saw glimpses last year where he was okay.
Yeah.
He never blew the doors off me. There were a couple of shifts maybe that you go, oh, there's a little offensive jam there. He kind of cut through a give and go. I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
He's not a dynamic player.
No, he's not.
I don't see a dynamic player.
And I think you're going to see that
Soderstrom.
from Durzi. I think you're going to see that. Here's the thing with Durzi. I think you're going to see dynamic offensive play. I still believe he's going to be the top of their number one power play. But I think Durzi is going to be one of those guys. You're sitting in the stands of the mullet going, ooh, did he just get beat again? Like, that's the concern. And he's young. He's going to learn. He's going to develop into that role. So I think he's going to get better. We just said he's at the top of the power play. Where does Dumba fit in, do you think, on the special teams with this team?
Well, I got to believe he's going to run the second power play. That's my guess, and that's sort of what I've been told. But he's got to be on your PK as well. So when you're a coach, when you're parsing all of that out, is it okay still for a second power play guy to be a primary PK guy as well, or does it just create too much of a burden when he's also on your top pair?
Here's what I think. And of course, you talk to people. I don't. So that makes a big difference. I don't see Dumba getting that second set minutes right now. I see we had Mosier and Valimaki splitting that up last year. Durzi's going to get the opportunity to do it. Then I think it's going to be Mosier or Valimaki. I think Dumba gets the third pair right before they go to 5-on-5. He is a great 5-on-5 player.
You save him then too, right?
Yeah, and he is an outstanding penalty killer.
Yeah.
So he is their number one penalty killing defenseman. Period. When they take a penalty, he is jumping over the boards. I'm telling you, his stick is great. His feet are great. He's fast enough to keep up with guys on the PK. He's aggressive enough to get from the front of the net to the corner on a PK. He is outstanding, and you don't want to take those minutes away from him that are so valuable there. 5-on-5 and PK, I think he'll get some PP touches. I do. I just don't think he's going to be a guy that's getting a minute and a half per game. I think you're looking at a 30-second guy getting the last rush up the ice, and then he'll stay on the ice for the 5-on-5.
And of course, all of that is going to fluctuate as well, depending on who's available, who's playing well, all that stuff, all the things that coaches deal with. Another thing that he brings to this team, and we're going to talk about this with Joe Smith, yet another high character guy. Did you read Joe's story this morning?
This is the difference for this team. Yep. They're high character guys, and it's another one. Zucker, same thing.
Or the same thing about Jersey too.
And Kerfoot.
Readers reach out to me from LA saying you're gonna love Sean Jersey. Like, God, it was like,
none of them are quite Nick Bukestad, if you know, you know.
Wow. I mean, but this guy has Minnesota ties.
So
book.
let's switch gears one more time. Let's talk about BetMGM. Because when we met last week from BetMGM, the points this team was at the over-under for their futures was 73.5 points. Does Dumba move the needle enough? Because right now I just checked, it's still 73.5. So if you want to jump on,
73.5 or 74.5? What is it?
74.5.
74.5.
So maybe it went up a point.
Look at me, I actually knew something.
Yeah, it was 74.5, and I think it was 73.5 because we were saying 74. So jump on it now because that's going to move. What do you think this team can reach?
I'm thinking this team can flirt with 80 points.
I do too.
If things go right. Like, again, a lot. We're talking about a ton of variables here. We've talked about the goaltending. We've talked about those guys that are in the core taking another step forward. There are a lot of things to consider. But if I'm this staff right now, I mean, the staff will probably have to set their sights even higher. But I think a reasonable goal, a realistic thing that they can look to achieve, is an 80-point season, which is crazy.
So what you need to do right now is download the BetMGM app. Go to the hockey futures, the NHL points for the season, and take the over for the Arizona Coyotes right now at 74.5 before that line moves, because it's going to. You can log in at any point this weekend and claim a bonus bet on the house this weekend coming up. So jump on and do that. Stay tuned to the bets where you can hear all my bet shows coming right after this. You're going to hear what I think about baseball because people care about what I think about that. So sign into the BetMGM. Use the bonus code PHNX. Most important thing when you download the app, use the bonus code PHNX. It really helps us out. There are a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our Arizona audience, place your first bet and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bet, even if it loses. Buddy, that is a great deal. Check out the show notes for full details at the BetMGM app. And now, listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call.
We were going to listen to Shane, but there's a lot of things. Read the description to make sure that you know everything that
and
goes
also
along
download the app, people.
Please download the app.
PHNX Coyotes fam. Please download that.
And the
app.
other thing we want you to stop at your Circle K. We're so excited to partner with our friends at Circle K. Check out your local Circle K for the best in coffee, which I have going right here on the way in. I do that important to this cup. Beer, which we know how much I like that. Snack selection and premium gas. Polar Pops stay colder, longer, and the cups don't sweat, period. And they fit in your cup holders. Favorite snacks? For me, it's the orange slices. Leah? Salt and vinegar chips. I have no idea because I don't pay attention.
Yeah, clearly you're not listening to Sean and me talk about this. We want sleeves of donuts.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I know DePaz and his pastries is elite.
Well,
their deals right now, buy 2, get 1 free Monster Energy drinks and Beatbox Hard Tea. is also buy 2, get 1 free. Make sure you're not missing out on all the great stuff right now. Text PHNX to 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club and get the buy 1, get free. Good Lord. Buy 1, get 1 free offer on the 32-ounce Polar Pops. I tell you what, Leah can't come back soon enough. I've only been hosting the show for 60 minutes? I can barely handle it. Now it's time to welcome in a very special guest, the Athletic's Joe Smith. He's going to join this show, and we're going to talk more about Matt Dumba. Joe, welcome in today.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, not hearing you.
Joe, hang on, buddy. We got to. Uh-oh. Hang on. Well, I'll talk while he works on Joe.
Yeah.
Joe looks good today, too. By the way, that's good hockey flow. I wish I could
It's
do that.
off-season hockey flow.
Oh!
We got you now.
There
We
you
got you
go.
now. Beautiful.
Joe, that's good. That's good salad you got going. That's a good hockey hair.
It's good off-season hockey hair, yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
You got plans for the season then, I take it?
Yeah, well, we during the season I'm pretty busy, but we have some cabin trips in August, so looking forward to that. That's when things actually kind of die down here or everywhere, pretty much in the NHL, as you know. So have some Upper Peninsula, and then obviously Traverse City trip in Michigan, and then obviously a couple spots in Minnesota. So looking forward to exploring.
Yeah,
Buddy,
you just became Petey's favorite guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go. I'm a Minnesota native. Grew up in Bemidji, so kind of miss
Bemidji State, there you go.
Yeah, my dad was the longtime coach there at Bemidji State, so I kind of miss it. But
Joe, thanks for joining the show today. If our listeners, our viewers haven't had a chance to read the story that Joe wrote on Matt Dumba, I tweeted it today, but it's a terrific read and gives us a real sense of the player, the more so the human being behind the player. I want to get to that in a moment, Joe, but I want to talk a little bit about Matt Dumba, the player, because that's what we're coming out of right now. This departure from Minnesota, maybe you can walk us through the details of that and maybe how his game has changed over his time with the Wild.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to join you guys. First of all, number one, I think everyone kind of knew this was going to be the end for Matt Dumba in Minnesota of the salary cap situation. I think there have been times over the course of his tenure where they thought it was the end too, with expansion drafts, and he's in trade rumors. It seems like every deadline there was trade rumors surrounding Matt Dumba. So I think he made a joke in Calgary during the deadline when they passed. He goes, "They dodged another bullet. They can't get rid of me here." And he was like, "They get their own rental this year," which would paid off really well for the Wild since he was one of the best players down the stretch. But guy who's drafted and developed in Minnesota, played a decade with the Wild, mostly in the top four. I think as far as evolving his game, he early in his career, a terrific monster shot, right? And he came out of junior and he able to score and maybe do some more on the power play. He got in a fight like several years back. I think it was Matthew Tkachuk. Really had a torn a pectoral muscle. And I think people, I'm sure he'd admit too, it had an effect on him. Maybe not necessarily always physically, but mentally, not being able to have that same kind of zip on his shot. He still was a very effective player, but he wasn't running the power play in Minnesota and, that kind of thing. So, but overall, played top 4 minutes, one of the top minutes on the team this past year. Jonas Brodin, one of his best friends on the left side there. Very valuable contributor. I know he had some inconsistencies in his game over the course of his time, but we needed a big hit or, on the penalty kill or something like that. He was there for it. And this year was ups and downs too. I think at the beginning of the year, he even called it brutal himself, had to go in and make some changes and really started to play some really defensive sound hockey down the stretch, some of his best hockey, I think, in a few years here, which helped them make the playoffs and then obviously make an interesting first round series with the Dallas Stars. So I think fans here are going to miss him. I think you'll find out when you talk to him later today how much his heart is in Minnesota. He grew to love the place and really became ingrained in the community, has a big camp for kids, whether it's deaf, blind, unprivileged kids, kids from different communities to get them involved in hockey. So I think you can still do that or have an impact as well, even if he's gone. But I think that's what off the ice thing is what really stands out, what they really miss too in the room with the Minnesota Wild.
Joe, help me understand the injury and its impact on, and particularly his shot as you're talking about. I get that the pectoral muscle is a huge part of a shot, but that's an injury that should heal. Are there still issues there? Why hasn't he been able to recapture that magic with the shot?
Yeah, I don't know if he's re-injured it or anything like that. I think we'll have to ask him specifically, but I think there's part of it is a mentally afterwards with it, and maybe having like kind of confidence he maybe didn't have in the past with it. I think I've been talking to his brother at the father or brother's trip in, I think it was January. He mentioned he hasn't really felt like he's been a little bit the same with his shot that he was before. Doesn't mean he's not an effective player. It's just more so it's different in terms of that role. But he can still play 22 minutes, 23 minutes on the Wild team. He played top 4. He played in penalty kill. He on the ice at important times, lay the big heavy hits. He wasn't afraid to do that. Like saw Joel Pavelski a very big hit in Series 1 against the Stars, which is a little bit controversial because of the injury to Pavelski, of course. So I think that was just something, one of those kind of marks in a career record, a little bit of a turning point in as far as that part of his game. But the rest of the game has remained the same the course of his time here.
One of the things that the Arizona Coyotes desperately need from the back end is to add a little bit more offense. What can they expect Matt Dumba to do in the offensive zone from the blue line in?
Yeah, he's a good puck mover, and so he gets the puck out of the zone, which is something that a lot of teams really need. And he'll jump into rush a little bit. He's not an Erik Karlsson, he's not one of those guys, but I think he's able to decision making, move the puck up the ice, and he will carry it up a little bit. Like I said, he didn't run the power play here. Doesn't mean he can't play on the power play in Arizona, depending on what they have on the blue line and who they have figured out there. But he definitely can help exit the zone quickly and move the puck up the ice. He just won't be, like I said, like the Erik Karlsson type that's going to drive your offense kind of thing and be a guy that people have to or Cale Makar, you have to focus your attention off of him.
You talked about his defensive game as well. And we heard, I talked to Mike Rousseau about this as well, how good he was defensively. Was that an evolution in his game? Has he always been a great defender, or has he added a piece to his game recently?
I think that kind of coincided with maybe some drop in his offense. I think he's always taken pride in being a strong defensive player. It's not like he was this one-trick pony that it was some of those guys get labeled as that, where they just an offensive guy. If they can't do that, they can't do anything else. Like, he's always kind of taken pride. He's always been, I think, a long time had been on the penalty kill, a guy who plays in kind of high leverage situations. You play with Jonas Brodin, you play in against some of the top matchups, right? You're not sheltered on the ice. You're not sheltered in defensive zone draws kind of thing. So if you're playing with Brodin, you're going to be playing against the McDavids and the Crosbys and that kind of thing. So that's always kind of been part of his game. I think he just, this year especially, he did get healthy scratched once at I think it was in February or March, one of the games. But it was a quick one. He came back in the lineup and was effective after that. But he really had to kind of do a look in the mirror thing early in the year, because he was making some turnovers. He wasn't making the right plays. And you could saw down the stretch of how effective he was and how important he was. One of the best defenders down the stretch. And obviously they leaned on him in the playoffs too against Dallas.
If we talked about these long-term contracts that are burdening the Minnesota Wild right now with Parise and Suter, if you think those contracts were gone, is Dumba still a Minnesota Wild? If those contracts never existed and they had the space, would he still be a Wild?
I mean, I think there's always a potential there. I mean, I don't know what he was looking for in the market. I think 1 year and $4 million right now was probably a lot for the Wild to do, even if they had a little more space. I think they have like $800,000 now after they signed Kellen Addison. So I think he probably, ideally, if you ask him maybe later today, he probably wanted a little more longer term deal. I mean, he's 28, 29 years old. He's still relatively young. But maybe this is 1 year where you see how your value is after this year when the cap goes up and see what happens. But and there's also a sense too, with some guys where maybe even from the team perspective, it's good to maybe move on a little bit. You've had a guy in your team for so long, and you've gone through this motions like 4 or 5 times at the deadline, and maybe he's gone, maybe he's here. There could be a good sense of good timing for both if there was a chance to, let's say, get him another start somewhere, and they have Brock Faber, a Minnesota star here, ready to jump in and play with Jonas Brodin at a very much smaller cap hit. Maybe that is the right time. But I do know it's hard for Matt Dumba to leave, and I know a lot of fans will definitely miss him here.
Joe, we talk a lot about guys who are quote unquote good in the room. You gave a hint of some of this in your story today of what type of person Matt Dumba is, both in the room, on the ice, and then in the community. It's a common thread with the types of players that Bill Armstrong has been bringing in, whether it's a Nick Bjugstad or Jason Zucker, constantly bringing in these high character veterans. But with Matt Dumba in particular, what jumps out to you in that area of him as a person?
Well, in the room, the energy level is top notch, right? He's the guy who's always chirping guys, chatting, like the special handshakes with every single player in this team going in the locker room. Just when something needs to be said, he's up and saying it. Getting guys together off the ice. That's something that I think is really important for on a team with young players, is guys that'll get everybody else out. He invites people over some Christmas parties at his house. I've talked about that. One time there was in Carolina, and the guys were playing pool or hanging out at a bar, an off night, and he came in there for 15 minutes. He paid the entire tab for the whole team, just like, hey, let's get guys together. Let's have fun. So I think the energy, first of all, was kind of, I don't know how do you call it, but contagious. think Ryan Carter called like RPMs, like in the room, like, you know, that heartbeat that you have, that you said you get a certain amount of energy on days in early January or February when the team's going through something can perk guys up a little bit. I think that's a really big part of it. And like Ryan Reeves has been in the league for a long time, and he was in here for like 5 months, and he said that, you know, basically Dumba was the biggest vocal leader on the team, and full of character. So that's part of it. And then the community thing. A lot of people say they want to make, you know, hockey more diverse sport. They want to do things for, you know, grow the game. But he actually, you know, put his money where his mouth is and did these camps the last several years, hockey with no limits, and had kids out there. And he was out there with his skates and playing with them and talking to kids year after year, remember their names, like, hey, you were here last year. How are you doing with hockey? And kids that maybe didn't know about hockey, didn't really fans, were big fans of Matt Dumba because they're part of this camp that included, you know, minority players, kids who were deaf, sled hockey, like any kind of, it was like basically no limits, basically what the name of the camp was. And it was not just one particular group, it was everyone. So, and you could tell Minnesota's really cold in January, February, and he was out there for a few hours, a lot of his teammates, you know, having fun with the kids.
Tangibly, how does this impact the Wild, his loss? You can talk about the community, but also the player himself. Is Brock Faber ready to take over those minutes in that role, or is this a loss in some ways?
Well, it is. I mean, you still have a guy who plays 22 minutes, and that has a ripple effect on everybody else, right? So you can't just. I think Faber is a terrific young player, and he impressed last year. I think he's played 8 NHL games, 6 in the playoffs, and 2 regular season, and he's working hard all summer. But it is hard to just step in from that, you know, Frozen Four basically in April, and now you're going to be playing with Jonas Brodin and playing against the McDavids and the Crosbys. That's a big jump. So I think he's ready to grow into that, and potentially he probably could be maybe better than Matt Dumba. But right now, like, it's hard to say it's a net win for the Wilds. You know, when you lose a guy who's played that many meaningful minutes for the team, a veteran, experienced guy, and you add that to the things that you know, they have in the room, and they lost to Ryan Reeves and they lost Matt Dumba, and so there are a lot of big voices there that they kind of have to make up for. So I think the combination factor, it will be a little bit of obviously a loss for the Minnesota Wild not having him, even though the cap hit, you had to shed it at some point.
And now we're looking at the Central Division, the big Central Division rivalry between the Minnesota Wild and the Arizona Coyotes.
Nothing says Central like Arizona.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. They're going to be in the East next year. You wait and see. People here are starting to talk about the P word. I think, and we'll discuss that later. Just a shade early for the Arizona Coyotes to start talking about playoffs. Just a little bit. Everybody calm down a little bit.
I think the Coyotes should talk about that, right? Didn't the Coyotes tweet about being wagons now or something?
Yeah.
Yes,
they did.
Pump the brakes a little bit, but what does this do for this matchup? Are the Wild still on their way up? I know losing Dumba is huge, and I know I keep talking about the albatross contracts between Parise and Suter. I don't think the Wild are running for the Stanley Cup until those contracts are off their books. But is this Minnesota Wild a playoff team? Are they still going on the way up, and the Coyotes will be chasing them for a few more years?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right in the sense that in a couple more years, that's when they'll start to be like real players and real contenders as far as like they hope is championships. But they won 100 points seasons back-to-back years, right? And that's with the $14 million less to spend than every other team. They have superstar and Kirill Kaprizov, one of the top 5-6 players in the world, in my opinion. Matt Boldy, who's on a deal that's probably going to be a cheaper deal by the end of it, 7 years, $7 million annual value, average value there. They have got some good young players that they can build around, and the prospect pool is one of the deeper ones in the league, according to I think our athletic writers here who rank those prospects. So they have the pieces there. They hope that it's a perfect storm in 2 years when they have some of these top prospects overseas move over here and be able to play with Kaprizov, and they have money to spend for, in theory, a number one center, which they've been looking for about 20 years here. So
hold my beer, buddy.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
But I do think that the Wild are a playoff team this year. The margin for error is a little less. Just, you lose some players, but most of the team that they had that gave Dallas a run are back on the team this year. They got Gustafsson back. They're pretty much their blue line except for Dumpa's back. A lot of their guys up front, they re-signed Marcus Johansson, so their top 6 is back. So I think it'll be a very tight race there between like the number 3 and the wild card spot for out of the Central, and that's where I think Arizona's an interesting team. I'm not saying they're like a playoff team yet, but they're going to be a tough team to play against. They had a lot of guys up front. Logan Cooley is an electric player. I watched him a lot in Minnesota, and a lot of swagger to his game, and I don't know if he's a number one center right off the top. You don't probably doesn't have to be, but he's going to be a fun player to watch and grow in that system. And you mentioned the Zuckers and veteran players they brought in up front, so it won't be just all the kids. So I don't know. I mean, it's a fun building to watch a game in. Maybe not for press credentialed people, because I'd be like sitting in the stands.
Section
and somebody
108, row J. You can find Joe.
So, buddy, I don't know if you saw the catwalks above the suite level. Pretty much they're just metal right now. But if you want to come down and help me, I'm thinking of beefing those things up and making a new press box and mullet so that we can actually see the game and not have fans standing up in front of us.
Plywood and lawn chairs.
I'm all for it. I mean, I was glad for the game last year, and somebody put their beer next to my laptop, like it was next to like the. It's like the seats that are right behind like the lower section. You're like, you have no, like, if I got up, my laptop would be gone, right? Because there's like basically like a small little rope in between. Like, do I leave my phone here? Like, so it's just but it's very more intimate, I guess they call it, right?
Yeah, I asked them to electrify those crushed velvet roasts, but they weren't having that. So,
well, Joe, I just want to say thanks again. I encourage everybody to, if you want to find out what kind of a player the Arizona Coyotes acquired, please go read Joe's article in The Athletic. I think it spells out not just the hockey player, but the person. And I know that's in this locker room, especially, that's incredibly important. So, Joe, thanks for taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedule in the off season. And we'll definitely be talking to you soon and hope to see you at the Mullet.
Absolutely. I'll be out there this fall. Looking forward to seeing you guys. So take care. Have a good rest of the summer.
Enjoy the UP, buddy. Take care.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Joe. Well, when Joe comes, we'll absolutely share a beer. And you know what? We'll have to decide between a kilt lifter and a wow, because we have to have a Four Peaks. And Four Peaks is everywhere in the Valley. It is the official craft beer of your Arizona Diamondbacks. Not sure if I would say that too loud
you
right
of
now.
all people as a
but they do have the
Rattle
Rattle on Red Ale. The Rattle on Red Ale, which is the Diamondback beer, phenomenal. Like it is my number 2 right behind the kilt lifter. Phenomenal. So check out the Rattle on Red Ale if you haven't yet. D-backs takeovers are coming up, so check out the events page and our show notes to find dates and tickets. Follow Four Peaks at Four Peaks Brew, or go to fourpeaks.com/events to stay up to date on everything Four Peaks. You can go to the sports bar there at the 8th Street Pub. Phenomenal chicken wings.
Chicken tendies.
Not chicken tendies, not wings. Well, they have wings too, but the tendies are elite. Teacher Tuesdays are back at the 8th Street Pub every Tuesday through July. Bring a valid teacher's ID. It's not July anymore.
No.
It's August.
Not.
I wonder if they can still do it.
It's a good question. We should probably move on.
We should probably move
on. You know
on.
what I wish Four Peaks would do?
What?
And maybe they'll do it now that I've suggested it. Probably not.
What?
I'd love to have like a mix set, a 6-pack. Because
It's
there
funny,
are
they'd have
easily 6 beers like in the stores.
I'd
like to be able to walk
get a
into
mixed
store.
12-pack at the store.
Yeah.
They do.
Boom, 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 boom.
They do.
There are that many beers that I would pick
They
from
do.
Four Peaks.
They have a mixed 12-pack.
Do they?
Yeah, it's a party pack.
I have not seen the party pack.
I have.
I'm an idiot.
Buddy, I haven't. And we
apologize.
buy it for our neighbors all the time because it has an IPA in it, which I won't drink, and it's in there.
You buy it for your
And the
friends.
kilt lifter's in there, and the wow's in there.
That
I do have
explains-
friends.
that explains something.
You want free shit for your friends.
Okay.
Check out everything at the Four Peaks, at Four Peaks Brew, and at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest in Arizona hometown brew. You must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks. Please drink responsibly. And today is a huge day here at PHNX because the Spaghetti Shack is bringing in food. So stop the carb. If you're watching your carbs, today is not the day.
Nope.
Because it's pasta, meatballs, and bread.
Oh, their meatballs
Phenomenal.
are so good.
I tell you what, the Spaghetti Shack, ASU alumni owned and operated, and that could be a plus. It could be a minus for your U of A fans. I don't know, but go
Or
Big 12.
Big 12 fans who
if
come
you know,
in
you
town.
know.
They may go.
They serve a menu starting with spaghetti, meatballs, garlic bread, and a few other fan favorites. Their mission is to provide quality, affordable food as quickly as possible so you can spend less time cooking and spend more time with your loved ones. And the food, fire. There will be a lineup outside the PHNX kitchen today because of the Spaghetti Shack. The Spaghetti Shack is a community-focused to-go pasta concept started right here in Tempe, Arizona by 5 lifelong friends. We're currently serving Tempe and Queen Creek, and we hope you come to your neighborhood soon. Quick thoughts on Joe.
First off, I can't encourage people enough to read that story because it's so enlightening. You love to have that sort of intel when you go into your first interview as a reporter with a new player. So now I feel like I'm armed with a lot of knowledge about Matt Dumba. But the thing that we were talking about right before we came on, can't keep underscoring this enough. Bill Armstrong is not just bringing in, good guys. He's bringing in unbelievable human beings. Like I can't remember a time in an off season where I get calls or texts from reporters in other cities. Oh, this guy's unbelievable. It's just ridiculous. Like it's almost like they have a group of guys that are in this upper tier of quality human beings, and they're only going to pick from those guys to put in this room.
The one thing, Craig, I don't want to overstate what it means to a locker room to have good people. You can win a Stanley Cup with bad people in the room.
Yep.
You can. Happens often, but in that same room, you have extremely experienced leaders, you have an extremely veteran team, and you have voices that can keep those voices down. You cannot have a bad apple or a bad character in a medium to poor team. You cannot, because they drag you down, and you've got to have a team of strong veterans if you're going to overcome that kind of guys. This locker room doesn't have that, like, at all. So that's why you can't count this team out, especially with a Andre Tourigny coach team, with the attitude they have in the room. I'm not ready to count them out. I'm not ready for the playoffs yet. We'll talk more about that as the season gets closer, which it clearly is not.
So we're going to get to a mini Petey's Puck Talk now?
We are going to get to a mini
Petey's. Excited about this.
So we wanted to talk about what Matt Dumba is, and here's what we want to look at, what Matt Dumba is as a player and what to look for Matt Dumba. I don't want to overstate everything because he's not a perfect player. You heard he's a number 3 player for the Minnesota Wild. So let's take a quick look, and here is Petey's Puck Talk, the Matt Dumba edition. So we're going to start off right in the offensive zone. And the very first thing you're going to notice about Matt Dumba in the offensive zone is his ability to join the rush. He does skate extremely well. It's his asset that he adds in all 3 zones. Dude can skate. He can get up the ice quickly. So you're going to see him join the rush on the offensive zone, come out from that defensive zone to the offense. And you could see, and if you follow this slide along, here he is just outside the blue line. He sees the hole in the middle ice, dives through the hole, gets the puck, and gets an opportunity on the net. You're going to see it again here. This is off the rush. It doesn't look like it. It looks like a 5-on-5 play, but he joins the play on the weak side. He's able to be late into the zone, get the pass, and score a goal. You're going to see it again, how active he is in the offensive zone. He is a great skater off of that blue line. Here he is in the offensive zone, comes off the blue line. Colorado defender goes right at him. He shimmy shakes him, cuts to the middle, and is able to get a good shot on net. You're going to see it again here, where he's active on a give-and-go play and dives to the middle of the ice. This middle area of the ice, you're going to see Matt Dumba take an incredible amount of shots from. That's why when we talk about his partner, they need to be able to defend, because Dumba's going to get caught here, and that's going to give up. If the shot's blocked and goes the other way, expect Mosier to defend the 2-on-1. You're going to see it again, his ability to get a give-and-go, get to that area of the ice, dive to the middle, and take another shot from the hash marks. This one's a goal against the Pittsburgh Penguins, where he finds that soft spot in the slot. Again, give and go. Here he is on the backside, trying to get to that middle ice, top of the circle, between the hash marks, again for a shot. This one doesn't beat the Chicago goaltender, but again, it's him active off of the blue line. You're going to see it here. We talk about that middle spot. Here he is again, St. Louis. The puck's way low in the zone. He anticipates. He is outstanding at anticipating plays in all 3 zones. But here he is in the offensive zone, wanting to get to that middle spot again. He dives in, receives the pass between the St. Louis defenders, and is able to score another goal from that area of the ice. So you're going to see this over and over again from that center spot, top of the circle. These are 3 more examples of him shooting for there. So look for that for the Arizona Coyotes. They like to be active. Look for Dumba to add to the offense from that part of the ice. The other thing is he holds the blue line extremely well as teams are trying to break out of the zone. You can see the forward behind the net in yellow, and Dumba's out at green, out at the blue line. He anticipates the pass, jumps the pass to the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's able to make physical contact. We talked about his hitting already, and he's able to keep the puck in the zone. He is very physical and very aggressive off of that blue line. Again, you're going to see as the forward, Dallas forward, comes up the ice, he's aggressive, attacks that forward, makes physical contact, really good angles, separates the player from the puck. Minnesota keeps the puck in the zone. The concern here is if he misses, and that is one of his weaknesses. He can be over-aggressive, and pucks can come the other way in odd man rushes.
How does it mesh with Andre Tourigny's system?
This is what Andre Tourigny wants. Andre Tourigny wants to chase the puck in the offensive and the defensive zone, and Dumba does it extremely well. This fits what Andre Tourigny has wanted to do all along here. He just hasn't always had the weapons and the personnel to do it. Dumba is that perfect Andre Tourigny player. He is going to love playing the system because he's going to have a green light to go everywhere. In the neutral zone, we talked about what he can do in the neutral zone. Again, it relies on his speed. So he's going to step up in the neutral zone. He is going to stop rushes before they happen. He's going to have tight gaps, which means he's going to be very close to the opposing player as he gets up the ice, try to limit their space and time in the neutral zone. He's going to make big hits in the neutral zone. He's going to be aggressive in the neutral zone. Again, if the puck gets behind him, it's going to be J.J. Mosier that's going to have to save the day in behind. But expect for him to create turnovers between the blue lines, which is, again, a hallmark of what Andre Tourigny wants to do, is create these turnovers and get the pucks going the other way. In the defensive zone, talk about aggressive. This is one of the strengths of his game, how aggressive he is in the defensive zone. You're going to see him here as the rush comes in, his quick feet keep the Vegas Golden Knight player on the top slide, keeps him to the outside. You can't get to the net on him because he skates so well. He's not going to be easy to drive the net on. He's not going to be easy to have those one-on-one battles and get to the net because he defends that lane extremely well. And you can see on the bottom where the Nashville player is driving that outside lane, he turns, skates forward, closes the gap, and is able to physically remove the Nashville player. That lane on the outside when Dumba's on the ice is going to be hard to get around and get drives on net. You're going to see him in the defensive zone. You can see him on the top. He's in front of the net, defending the net front. And what Andre always wants is be aggressive, attack the puck. So as soon as that puck moves to his area, watch him jump and leave the net front. There's no defenders in the net front. You know how much I dislike that. I like to get a defender in front of the net. But here he anticipates it well, closes off the play of the Vegas Golden Knights, and is able to turn the puck over. On the bottom example, again, he's in front of the net, defending. He anticipates the puck is going to turn over. He goes all the way to the corner, all the way because he's so confident in his skating and his physical ability. He puts that player through the boards and, again, creates a turnover. So you're going to see it here. Again, he goes a long way away from the front of the net. He's very aggressive. He's confident in his ability to skate. Here he takes Alex Newhook all the way to the wall, waits for that pass, anticipates it, and again, the play ends up with Alex Newhook on the ice and the Minnesota Wild with the puck. He's physical, he's quick, and he is very aggressive in the defensive zone. Special teams, we talked about what he can do on the penalty kill, and I think this is an area where he can be aggressive on the up ice, where you're going to try to limit teams from gaining the blue line because his quick feet, he can keep players to the outside. Here he is against Dallas in the playoffs, where he's able to shut down a power play of the Stars right at the blue line and in zone. Again, he doesn't just camp out in front of the net. He is very aggressive, stick on the ice, and attacks on the penalty kill. Some things he can do to improve. He is going to get beat in the offensive zone because he's aggressive, and he's going to get beat in the defensive zone because he's aggressive. But there's some other things. He can turn the puck over. And I know one of the things with J.J. Mosier, he's a good puck mover and gets up the ice quickly. Maybe using him as a partner, you can help get the puck up the ice quicker. You can see in this example, instead of making the easy play up the wall to avoid the St. Louis forward, he puts it right into his shin pads, and St. Louis attacks the net. You're going to see it here where he's trying to hold the puck at the blue line. A lot of time and space at the blue line, but instead of delivering a puck down the wall or trying to make a move offensively, he holds it, he waits. Dallas pins him against the wall. Dallas goes back the other way. And against Nashville on the bottom set of slides, it's a 1-on-2. And we know how much I hate guys trying to beat somebody on a 1-on-2. When he gets to the red line, that puck has to go deep. And then forecheck, he tries to get through two people using his offense and his skating ability, turns the puck over, and Nashville's back the other way. The other thing, physical, he is a monster on the ice. This kid can drive you through the glass. We talked about what he did to Pavelski during the playoffs. It is a questionable hit, but he's physical. He'll go right through you. Only Jake Middleton had more hits from the defense for the Minnesota Wild last season. But the downside,
104 hits
he can
last year.
take penalties.
Yeah. Last year, a career high in penalty minutes, 81, which is not inordinately high for a defenseman who plays the entire season, but still, there are reasons why you don't want this guy taking...
He's our number one, the Coyotes' number one penalty killing defenseman right now, and he can't be in the box to start penalty kills. This team wants to improve their penalty killing in Arizona. He cannot be sitting in the box when these penalty kills start. And that is Petey's Puck Talk.
One quick follow for you.
The Matt Dumba edition.
One quick follow for you, Petey. If it's J.J. Mosier that ends up being his partner, how does it change J.J. Mosier's role on the ice to have to accommodate Matt Dumba's game?
I think what this is going to do is it's going to help the evolution of J.J. Mosier. J.J. Mosier can only get the puck up the ice, skates extremely well. He's smooth, but I think this is going to force him to be a better defender. I think what Dumba, as a 29-year-old experienced NHL defenseman, he's going to push Mosier. He's going to push Mosier to get better, and it's going to make Mosier defend quicker. He's going to have to move, because if Dumba's moving, you better be on your feet and moving as well. I think this is the beginning of the evolution of JJ Mosier. And that's where I said I think he can become one of the top defensemen in Arizona. I think he will be the number one. And I think this is the beginning of that evolution to follow with Dumba. But he's also going to have to be a little less of what you see off the blue line where you want that active defenseman. He's going to have to stay there for an extra beat because I think Dumba's going to be the guy jumping in, and he may have to be there to defend that rush, that odd-man rush against.
Okay.
So how about all that?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Wow.
Good show.
Well, you know what else is good stuff? All of the decorations we have here on set from FOCO. FOCO is the leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. And you can see tons of them here. We've got a great assortment of Diamondback stuff right now. Get ready for that Big 12 ASU U of A merch coming out soon. It's the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. Make sure you go jump on and check out what they have for the Diamondbacks, because baseball season is in full swing right now. See what I did there? Full swing. FOCO always has our back for Arizona sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by visiting www. Can you say that to start something? I think you don't anymore. FOCO.com and use the code PHNX. There's that code again for all non-presale items. Use the code PHNX for 10% off. Whew. When's Leah coming back? We got a couple super chats. Roaring Fork. $5 super chat from Roaring Fork. The Coyotes' goal differential was minus 70 this past season. Based on the moves of the offseason, is there any way they could should be any worse than a minus 10?
Ooh, that's a big jump.
That's a big ask.
That's a big jump.
It's still a team that's going to struggle to defend. It still is, and you've got to see a consistent season from their goaltending. And we've talked about this as a defending group as top six. I don't think that they're going to improve 60 goals on the back end, and that's also with Clayton Keller having a career season up front. How many goals does Zucker add? I think that's a little bit aggressive. I think it will be better. I just don't think it's going to be that much improved. I think we're talking somewhere 40 to 50.
I mean, if you're a negative 10 goal differential, you're
in the playoffs.
Well, I don't know that.
No, you're
in the
outside.
playoffs.
Negative
you're
10.
outside, but you're flirting with
you're
the
10 to
playoffs.
12. You're 10 to 12.
Yeah, I don't see him climbing quite that high.
No, I don't see.
They definitely need to improve it,
and we talked about the plus minus. If you're plus, you're in. If you're minus, you're out. And
pretty much.
Yeah, they're out. And another super chat from Fernando Mendez, Big Daddy Vloggy. The Yotes are officially out of the tank mode. Some great news for this young core. And I agree. I think that this is just, in a way, this is another step in the rebuild. It's still a rebuild because all these contracts are 1 or 2 years. It's just them trying to make an attempt to be better and show these young players that there's a path to winning. And we saw Edmonton with all of their top draft picks losing year after year after year. This is an opportunity for these young players to look around and get examples like Dumba, Zucker, Kerfoot, and go, oh, we're trying to win. So I think they're going in the right step, just not quite there yet. Charles Woodhall Pike with a $5.24. I'm sure it means something. Any idea what 524 is supposed to be? It means, he always has a meaning.
His number?
Oh, 24. Yeah.
Dumba's
24
number.
Dumba. Will it be? We'll see. Because right now that's Dermot's.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
Who do you think wins that?
Yeah, Dumba, because you've got experienced more games. Yep, there'll be some kind of an agreement there. I would bet on it. Love all the insight on Dumba. Really looking forward to seeing him on the ice at Mullet. I am too, because in that small setting, he is going to put some people in row J. There's no doubt in my mind. He's going to love this organization. He's going to play more minutes than he had well, it's hard to do because he played a lot of minutes in Minnesota. He's going to log a lot of minutes here. And he's going to be on the ice all the time. It's going to be an unbelievable opportunity for him. He wants to prove himself to get that long-term deal.
And I wonder, people keep asking, what are the chances that Matt Dumba remains with the Coyotes beyond the season? Well, I can't answer that yet, right? We don't know what he's going to do when he's on the ice. We don't know what the team is going to look like at the trade deadline. We don't know what other teams' interests might be. There are a lot of factors playing in here. But I do know that I don't think the Coyotes' approach this season is, we're flipping all these guys. We're flipping all these guys again. I think they like the idea of having these guys around for meaningful games, maybe even past the trade deadline. Now, if the Coyotes are way out of it at the trade deadline, I could see these guys getting flipped. But if they're close, if they're still playing meaningful games, I wouldn't be surprised if they, by and large, stood pat with these players.
Well, it's going to be a much different season than it was last season for sure, at least at the start. So it's going to be a fun team to watch as we get out of the gates here in October. I tell you what, I'd like to say we're done with the Matt Dumba discussion, but we're not, because he will be here tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow to the PHNX Coyote Show, and we will have Matt Dumba and hear from him on what he thinks about the move to Arizona. And then on Wednesday, Liam O'Brien will be here. So we've got back-to-back guests on Tuesday and Wednesday, and hopefully by Wednesday, Leah's back. Please get back, Leah. Until then, follow us on social media at PHNX_Coyotes. Follow us anywhere you get your podcasts. Thumbs up, like, please subscribe. Follow Craig Morgan at Craig S. Morgan. Follow me at S. Peters Hockey, at Leah Morgan, at Sean_DePaz. Did I say Morgan again?
You did.
Did I really?
It is. It's okay.
Wait, this is a harder job than people think, buddy.
Yeah,
like,
just for
write
Leah's
this shit
name
down.
for
If you
some
want to
reason.
get it right, write it down.
You're good. You're good.
At Leah Merrill. If she was here, she would have read that, not me. And at Sean_DePaz, always behind the Mac and on the mic. Please give us 5 stars. Is that a thing? 5 stars? Review it. Thumbs up, like it. Do whatever it is you do. Can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. We'll talk to Matt Dumba, and we'll continue the Coyote Chat 5 days a week here at PHNX. We'll see everybody tomorrow.